Hello and welcome to another edition of Athletes Corner, and today we have a special guest, former Salem High and Harvard players, Mr. Erik Groszyk. How are you doing, sir?
Great. Beautiful day outside. Fought the traffic through Peabody.
Oh man,
got myself here.
That after work traffic. Oh man, yeah, that coming back. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, man.
Gridlock.
Erik is in town. He's been visiting family. He's been helping coaching. Just how good is it just to be back in the area for the time that you're here?
Yeah, we have a 2-year-old daughter, my wife and I. So we come back every summer, and it's a chance just to spend time with my parents. Since we live in Utah, they don't get to see her. So it's been great, and just being around the P2P, kind of seeing some of the old places and landmarks that I used to stop by when I was a kid. It's been awesome, and just kind of, all these memories coming back.
Yeah, definitely. You talk about the memories, just getting back to coming back to where you grew up, and just seeing some of the changes that's happened, and then you seeing a league like P2P league. I know when we was growing up, we didn't have like a league like P2P, like that. There were some leagues, but it wasn't like that. But just how do you like just the way some of the folks in the community have been able to put stuff like that together for the kids to give them just an opportunity to keep busy during the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on a lot of key points there. Obviously, we had nothing. I think the closest thing we probably had was like there's a summer league in Lynn, and then there's one at Forest River in Salem. But those were all high school teams, and the thing I love about P2P is like the different combinations you get. Kids that might play against each other during the season with their high schools, or they might know each other from AAU, but then they have a chance to come together, be on the same team and compete, and just the way the crowd supports them. Mostly, for the most part, but the way the crowd's there, and it's like a really competitive environment, and I think that's what kind of makes it unique. And you have kids coming from as far south as Boston, as far north as Manchester, Essex, those towns, and then the Merrimack Valley, of course. So you get this really interesting mix of talent, and then I think you can't say enough about the job Kogi's done and his vision to bring that league to life, and every year kind of building it up to make it even better. I think the referees do an amazing job. I know they get some heat, but they're down there 3 or 4 hours a night for 3 or 4 nights a week, and they're there for the kids. They're not there. I don't think they're there for the money. They're doing it, and I try to tell our guys, like, if we don't have the rest, we don't have a game. So
and you were coaching too. Just what was it like? Just coaching those younger players, seeing this next generation of basketball players, and from the North Shore and from surrounding areas. Just what was it like? Just coaching those young guys.
Honestly, I had no idea what to expect. I have some connection with the game still, just through family or through Coach Doyle at Salem High, who I still keep in touch with, and kind of watching his teams a couple times a year. So I kind of, I've kept a close eye on how the game's been changing, especially with skill development, and obviously the way the NBA's evolved in the past 10 or 20 years. So I wasn't really sure what to expect with coaching the age group that I did, and I was just so impressed with the skill level of the kids. Like, we're taking kids who are from anywhere from 8th grade to going to 10th grade. And I think the athleticism, the individual skill, it's really hard to compare to when we were in high school. I don't think it does compare. So that part was interesting. And then kind of seeing the way their feel for the game differs. I think for kids in this age group, their development was kind of impacted a little bit by COVID, not having some of those key developmental years where you're on the court with a team. So some of the team concepts might not be as strong, but the season with P2P is so short. It's not like we have practice every day. So I was so impressed with how much they were able to implement on the fly, whether it was just things I was telling them individually or things I could tell them in a timeout, and to see them put that in practice. And just the overall level of effort, and seeing kids buy into wanting to win, wanting to be the best team in the league.
Yeah, definitely is. Let's take a little stroll back to your playing days at Salem High. When you graduated in 2005, and think about your Salem High teams. It was like at a point, you guys were it was like run and shoot with you guys. You guys got up a lot of shots. Your teams got up a lot of shots, but you guys kind of were playing kind of like that Phoenix Sun styles a little bit with the finding the open man and putting up a lot of shots. But just how fun was it those years for you playing at Salem High?
Oh, those are obviously some of my best memories playing, and guys on that team, like I mentioned, Coach Doyle. Prior to that was Coach Hanscom, and those are people I still keep in touch with.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, Coach Doyle came your second year, right?
He came after my second year, so he started coaching when I was an 11th grader, junior. But yeah, like the style we played, I remember you mentioned the Suns. I think we used to have a drill where Coach Doyle would put like 7 seconds on the shot clock, and we'd play up and down, and you had to get a shot up in 7 seconds. And it's funny, I'll be like talking to people at the park or just talking about basketball in general, and they'll always complain about kids taking threes. Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know if anybody takes as many threes as we took in high school at Salem High. Like we were.
Yeah, you guys are definitely one of those teams in the NEC that definitely when you had to play the 3-point line on you guys. And there were some times you guys had teams that were projected to make a deep run. You guys had a lot of good teams just in those state tournament runs that you guys had. What are some of your memories in some of those state tournaments, games that you played in?
I mean, the one that comes to mind, the one that people still talk about is one against Charlestown that we had. I think they had won four state titles in a row. And at least in this area in Eastern Mass, they were kind of seen as like the dominant force. I mean, they were the dominant force as far as boys high school was concerned. And really, no one really expected us to beat them. We played them in my junior year at Chelsea High, in I think the North semifinal, and we just played great. They were coached by Jack O'Brien, who had coached at Salem High, so there was this whole backstory around him coaching. He coached Rick Brunson, I think Scooney for part of his time here, and won multiple state championships here. So there was just kind of this homegrown rivalry, grassroots story, and they had this press, and we were lucky we had the guard play and a guy named Pat Shea who's bigger, 6'5", 6'6", and he was able to kind of see over the press and help break it, and we pulled off the upset, and that's just one of a few memories I have from the state tournament. It always meant a little more to be playing in the state tournament, especially when we had those home games. Yeah,
definitely. And then you played at the NEC during the time where it was such a, like the Salem-Lynn rivalry was such a big thing in the NEC time. Like those Salem High Lynn English games or Salem High Lynn Classical games were just one of like the most sought after games that people wanted to see. I was there for a few of them. I was there for a few of those games. It was just like playing, going into Lynn, and then vice versa, them coming into your house, would be in a packed gym. What was that atmosphere like for those that never got to experience like such a rivalry with cities that are really like 10, 15 minutes apart?
I mean, I don't know. Like I don't get to go to nearly enough high school games today. But these were intense games. Like it just felt like they meant something, especially guys from playing pickup at the park, and like there's just a lot of pride. These were just regular season games, but I think with the intensity, they felt like championships. Especially with like the summer leagues I mentioned, we might play each other 2-3 times during the summer as well. And you sent me that video of the game we played at Lynn English, and like one of the first things I rememred was the crowd, and it's the same when the Lynn teams would come to Salem
I think
High.
that game ended in free throws, right? You think you guys made some free throws late to win that one? Was it that one or that?
We won in overtime.
Yeah,
we won in overtime. And you can kind of, it's obviously the perspective of the cameras from the stands, but you can overhear the crowd, and you can kind of see people moving along the sidelines, and I mean that's one of the things I miss most about that high school environment is just the fans, and it's not just your classmates, but in our case at Salem was like a lot of friends and family and the whole community. Teachers, they would come out and support.
Definitely. Correct me if I'm wrong. Were you also a candidate for McDonald's All-American your senior year? Were you?
That I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I know Danny. So I had a teammate named Danny Frazier, and he outscored me. But I was the point guard, so I was like happy. It's kind of a badge of honor that he outscored me in our career. But
Mm-hmm.
He had well over 1,000 points, and I know he got a nomination for sure.
All right. Move on to that. If you finish your career at Salem, then you're going on to Harvard. You're going to play in the Ivy League.
Yeah.
First, describe the transition when going into college, in your first college game. What was like your emotions, and like how's the transition for you from high school to college? Because every time I ask people that question, the first thing they always say is the speed of the game is so much faster.
The speed and the physicality, I think, is like, yeah, those are definitely the main things. Just the way the ball moves. You see, like, the ball doesn't really stick in people's hands is one way I like to describe it. But yeah, the ball's moving really fast. Like, I played on a great AAU team when I was in high school, and we had 5 or 6 Division I guys, 6'10" guys, and scholarship players and everything. But guys are just so much more skilled and developed. Yeah. You show up and you're 18 or 19 years old, and there's guys who are 22, 23, and they've been playing in a college system for a few years. They're just a little more tuned into what's going on. And then the systems that either you're playing in or you're playing against are a lot more complex. So the game planning is a little more detailed than you're probably used to. And then, like, especially, Ivy League, any Division I school, even, D3 schools for that matter, like, everyone can play a little bit. Yeah. It's not like a high school game where you might be able to take a possession or 2 off. Yeah. Like, you're out there, the guy you're guarding can play, everybody on the floor can play. Yeah.
What were the practices like? 'Cause I think that's one of the biggest things. Like, practice is pretty much, some players say practice is a lot harder than the game, than when game time comes.
Yeah, the schedule, I mean, it's hard. Like, this experience for me was now almost 15 years ago. Yeah. The thing that kind of jumps out to me about that transition, that period in my life, was just the schedule of, like, you think you have, like, a long day in high school because you have to be there at 7:30 or 8, and then you have practice until the evening. But, like, there's times of the season in college you're getting up to be ready for a 6 o'clock practice or 6 o'clock conditioning, and then you're going to breakfast, then you're going to class all day, you're back at the gym or the training facility by 3, and then you got another 4 or 5 hours ahead of you between lifting and practicing and film and everything else. And it's, by that time it's probably 7, 8 o'clock, you still have to get dinner, you still have to do whatever work you've been assigned, and like, you're just in it. You're 18 years old. Everyone's preparation varies, but from that point forward, you're just in it, and that's your life for 4 years.
It's pretty much your full-time job right there.
It's like you got to be a student, and then hooping's like a full-time job. And it's funny because it might sound like I'm complaining, but I cherished every moment of it. And some of those friends that I made on that team are still some of my best friends. And just to have that connection to something, in this case, Harvard basketball, and the program's gone on to have so much success under the new coach, like the coach that became coach when I was there. So there's a lot of pride there for me, and just the learning experience too, to be around, because the coach Tommy Emmerker, he had been an assistant at Duke, had been a head coach, Seton Hall, Michigan, national champion as a coach while he was at Duke, and one of the best recruiters in the country. To just be around him 3-4 hours a day and learn from someone like that who's so locked into their craft, and it's like truly, can show up at a place like Harvard and be a visionary, and paint a picture for people, players, professors, administrators, and kind of take that school and do something that never been done there before. It's like, it's inspiring.
What's your most memorable game at your time at Harvard, if you could remember?
Geez, I'd have to think about it. There are some, I think one thing that always comes up is playing with Jeremy Lin. And I guess for anyone watching who doesn't know, he played in the NBA. He had like really meteoric rise as a member of the Knicks.
NBA champ too.
NBA champ with the Raptors. Yeah, he's way more than whatever that brief Linsanity period was. It's hard to think of just one game, but just the experience again to play with him too, day in, day out, and kind of see his commitment to becoming a pro and everything that he sacrificed and put into the game. If I think about one thing, it's probably that. We had some upsets against BC. One cool win that we had was Michigan. Coach Amaker had been hired from Michigan. and we just happened to have a home split with them. So we played at Michigan when I was a sophomore. They came back and played at Harvard when I was a junior. And to beat them at home with Coach Amberger, kind of for Coach Amberger, you can kind of tell when the coach wants a win. Personally, and that one was special.
Yeah, definitely. And then before we get out of here, throughout just your basketball journey, I know you're in Utah now, but what are some of the things you took from playing at Salem, playing at Harvard, the various teammates you had, and being around those two settings? Like, what are some life lessons that you took that still help you to this day?
And this was one of the things that, it's a really good question. I think one of the things that I really wanted to bring to P2P this summer, to my team at least, is like just getting kids to kind of break down their own, egos, for lack of a better word, and just really commit to like playing for each other, playing with each other. When I think about the Salem teams I was on, when I think about the teams I was on at Harvard that had any type of success, that's kind of the characteristic that sticks out to me the most. And like anything I've done in my life, basketball wise or professionally or within my family even, it's always when it's like, you're committed to something larger than yourself, and you're trying to support something that is beyond your own needs, So bringing that to trying to instill that in the team a little bit, I would say that's the main thing, and like that's really not about talent. That's not about where you're from. Like I imagine there's teams in the area that share that same tradition, share that same history, and that's what I love to watch. And I hope my team kind of expressed that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And then lastly, what are you up to? As you said, you do live in Utah now, so what are you up to these days? Any coaching in your future, like high school or anything out there, or are you just doing what you do right now?
I'm trying to make it work. I'm trying to, with a young child and needing to work, I'm trying to find the balance where I can make room to do more coaching. But until then, I'm still going to keep trying to find opportunities to teach and help out where I can. And I just try to tell people, like I hope people here who are watching this can see me as a resource and learn a little bit about my story. And just reach out if they have questions or need anything. Yeah,
definitely. Make sure you follow his IG, which is right there, @NewPlots. Send him a DM if you have questions, if you want some shooting tips, or if you just anything. If you just have questions, just go ahead. Feel free to. Don't be shy. Send him a DM. He'll answer. If you see him at P2P, well, today,
say what's up.
Yeah, say what's up. My man. Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Oh, man, you guys have been watching Athletes Corner. We're out of here. Have a good one.